Happy Tuesday, everybody. How you doing? Hope everyone is doing okay. World is still spinning around, so that means we're still around. And, you know, world still seems on a collision course for insanity. No, we already hit it. All right, so we got a couple of things I want to talk about. First of all, we're going to talk about our sun, the solar flare that happened yesterday, and there's actually been 6 or 7 in this event, and Earth is now in the direct uh, line of fire. So we are going to get this CME, and um, just to be prepared, if you're flying tomorrow, I'd think about maybe pushing that off a day if you can. Probably be kind of a good idea. Lots of radiation. And then we're going to talk about a document that is, well, it was a prank, I'm sure, but a well thought out one. So let's go over and check some things out here. All right, so we're over here at SDO, looking at the Solar Dynamic Observatory. That's what this satellite is. And it's a good one. It really gives us some really good images from the sun. So first of all, let's look at the complexity of the magnetism. And here's that one up here at the top that just could never quite get it together. And then there is this. This one's going to pop again. I will almost 100% guarantee it. It's going to pop again. It's been a long time since I've seen such a mixing like this. And boy, when you get both the positive and the negative umbras together in these fields, that's what produces the solar flares. What's produced the one that's coming at us. So let's go back over here. And I want to go to, by the way, this graph here, I hope it shows. These are the sunspot groups coming at us, and we'll actually be able to see what's coming back around, and there's more coming. All right, so let's go over here to space weather. Now, you can already see, we'll go here to YouTube. Well, that's suspicious observers. Go over there and check it out. So we had some pretty serious events going on here. So this is the emerald spiral. This is the sun. This is the Earth. Boom, there we go. And it's showing we're going to get smacked. There's that flare and the subsequent CME. So we know this. We are going to get hit. There will be radial blackouts. As you can already see up here, it's taking this, and we can actually go and see how that is working. Give me 1 second. All righty, let's go and see what this has to say. So this is a very calm right at the moment. Good. And I'm actually trying to pull up the graph, so you have to give me a second. I'm doing this on the fly, and when you're on the fly, that's what happens. I'll leave the link for this as well, but you can see it. So we have no background radiation showing up, but it will. So anyway, take a peek at that and just be prepared. All right, now I want to go to a website so that you can actually work with me on. This is the International Court of Justice, located in The Hague, and it is the judiciary arm of the UN. And this is the one that all nations sign and agree that this is the court that does, in fact, rule on international issues. They got broad power, broad seizing authority power. And you're saying, well, Wayne, why would we care about this? Well, you should, because actually, when you look at the International Court of Justice, it is said to be that this is where our, or yours, my birth certificate is actually there. I don't know, hard to say, but I do know this, that this court does have broad-based powers internationally. Now, I want to take you to another one. This is the BRICS Post. This is the BRICS Bank. So what is the BRICS Bank? It is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. These 5 countries got together and formed a bank. Now, they got themselves into a little bit of trouble, and they had to basically go back and rename themselves because they got slapped on the hand. Now it's called the New Development Bank, but a bank it is. And it's also funded by the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund. Okay, so we got that done, right? And they go around going into nations like this, and they loan the nations money into these projects and many other projects that are there to design to help better countries. All right, so I said all that to get to this. This is that document that I was talking about, and it's a very interesting document. Simply because, and I want to make sure that this is coming there. All right. So hopefully we're in widescreen. Now this document says that it actually comes, well, this is another document, excuse me. Oh, this even gets better. All right, well, let me get out of this one. I did not know that. All right, so let's go over to this document. And again, all right, here we go. I did not see those other documents behind there. Oh, this is going to get good. All right, so let's go. Really quickly. This document, as you can see, the United States of North America, the Republic of North America, the Family of Nations, apparently under this structure, it's been going on since 1721 to the present. Now, just so everyone knows, this is actually very accurate. The United States of North America. We are the United States of North America, just as Canada is the Canadian states of North America, and Mexico is the Mexican states of North America. We are a republic. We are not a democracy. America is not a democracy. We are and always have been a republic. That's why we have different things, particularly at elections. You have the Electoral College, where the popular vote doesn't mean anything. It's the Electoral College that actually elects the president. And people fail to understand that. You should learn your civics, folks. All right, now this is from the desk of supposedly the Royal Prime Minister Ernst Rothschild, the United States of North America, the Republic of North America, and chairman of the Royal Imperial Federal Reserve System. That's really interesting. If any of you really want to get a good book on what happened in 1913, when the United States lost its sovereignty and was basically taken over by a private corporation, might want to read what happened on Jekyll Island. Also, point of fact, when you think of the Federal Reserve, right? So this is what's so weird. The Federal Reserve answers to the central bank. The central bank has a number of banks all across the world in other countries, and then it answers to yet a very higher organization. Okay? So, how did the Federal Reserve ever come into existence? Because under the Constitution, it could never be allowed. Well, I'll tell you how they did it. They did it by the fact that the federal government is not part of the United States of North America, United States of America. This is a fact. The federal government is a corporation, and it is on its own sovereign territory, which in this case is called the District Washington of D.C., District of Columbia. It could never be allowed under the Constitution of the framers of our Declaration of Independence. The federal government could never exist in a sovereign state. When the 13 colonies come together, we know that the central part of government was in New York, then it was in Philadelphia, then New York. And they ran into a problem legally in the international courts. And that is why the founding fathers took great steps, great pain, at great sacrifice to set the federal government up in its own sovereign territory. Now, here's the weird thing about it as well. The District of Columbia, they do vote for a congressional representative, but the representative can't vote. Yeah. All right, so this is to the ICJ/ICC asset settlements. Well, ICJ is the International Court of Justice. The ICC is the International Court itself. All right, so let's move up here. Now, it says to all keepers of the royal assets. Now, all is capitalized because that means everybody. Keepers, first capital, is the specific group of the royal assets. Through this document, and I'm not going to go through all of it, but I'm going to leave the link. It really gets into some very interesting things. First of all, it's got typology all over it. And typology is what the New Testament is written in. And so what typology is that it uses foundations of truth, but in a manner that supports a story that uses real people, real places, real events, but the story isn't true. But as they put the story together, they do build it on foundation of truth. So it says, peace upon all of you. This is an update from the perspective of the ancient royal families, aka the royals. Now, I did a whole series called The Bloodline Invaders. You need to go back and watch those videos. It's almost 12 hours of videos in that series. You will learn who the ancient royal families are. Now, it talks about the current serious world events. Basically, it goes in and says, things ain't working out too well here, especially those unfolding in the Middle East and in the BRICS countries. Well, now you know who the BRICS are. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. Discussed our real issues that are manifesting on the ground, as well as concerns of the royals regarding the behavior of the global community towards the royal assets and concerns over their keepership in general. Now, they go back and they give you a history here, which is real interesting. Who are the royals? Well, they're in ancient royal families. These are very ancient bloodlines. They long live. You'll see this. Not to be confused with the kings and queens of the current day or the dragons one hears about. We do hear about dragons. Are hardly mentioned in the news, and that is how it's supposed to be. They own the news media. Don't cross them up. Don't. The royals for millennia have been looking after the planet, its treasures, its lands, the occupants under the covenant, known as the mandate from heaven. They are answerable to the galactic councils. Now, I've read about this, and in fact, you could say that Psalms 82 refers to this, the Supreme Council. The royals own the title deeds of all of the lands. In other words, they're saying they own everything on planet Earth. They have the title deeds. Now, how they come about that, I don't know. But again, you know, knowledge is fraught with landmines. And in order for you to really get a hold of the nuggets, right, the real nuggets, you got to go through a ton of other stuff. All right. So, and are the ones who own the title of the public lands. I think they about covered it, right? All the remaining lands, I don't know what they would be, as being under fair use keeping, and are the backers of all currencies in the system. Isn't that interesting? You know, folks, when you're born into this world, you are born an indentured servant, all the way up until you go through the portal of life. As stewards of the planet, they sublet the land to implementers who look after the running of the land for the benefit of its upkeep and that of their occupants. So you see, we're all serfs. That's what it's saying. We're all serfs. Sometimes other ancient families become implementers. That means they've had a change at the upper top. New bloodline come in. But now these bloodlines, don't think that, you know, it's a very elite club. And they keep themselves hidden from us, folks. Your shadow governments, here they are. Queen Elizabeth II is an implementer and not of the royals. So this should not be a matter of confusion. Sometimes they're giving to groups or parties to form governments and therefore use their central banks to manage some aspects of the interface between the royals and the implementers. In recent history, the Committee of 300 was used for this interface, but now this organization is no longer in operation and a new one is in the process of being set up. What are keepers? All of those working on behalf of the royals or implementers are also called keepers. Keepers have the obligation of the upkeep of the assets under their remit, including looking after the earth, heaven, natural resources, water, and air, the four elements, as well as living beings. Living beings, I didn't say humans, I didn't say humanity, as living beings therein, and the people who are benefiting. So if you get one of these keeper positions, oh man, you made it. You don't have to do anything else the rest of your life. You're going to be rich. You're going to be one of the elite. They are also responsible for safety of the treasures stored in the land and are not to touch them or handle them without explicit consent. Part of these treasures are those held for the future of humanity, and others are brought from outside of the planet for safekeeping on behalf of the different galactic councils. Maybe why the United States was so hell-bent to get into Iraq. And others are brought, as I said, from the outside. So governments are keepers looking after the land called countries and their people on behalf of the royals. For the royals to manage these countries, then corporations, you see what I told you? And I believe it's everywhere the same way in the world, with the same name as the countries. So there is a United States of North America, United States of America. Just put North in there. That's all you have to do. All right. Now, the royal manages these with the same name and are used to manage the accountability of such keeperships. And their central banks are then associated with these corporations and their accountability. One big corporation, folks. All right. What are global agreements? As long as the keepers are looking after the people and all the assets under their keepership, the royals normally let the keepers be. You getting in this? So once you get a power structure in, and these people who are basically deceiving us, the serfs, the indentured servants, because they keep us distracted. You know, they'll have you going for one political party or the other. They want you to be hate. They want you to be divided. They want you to be distracted because you're just a play toy. You're nothing more than a specimen. You're going to make them money all the days of your life. They're going to make you sick and they're going to make you pay. That's how it works, folks. All right. So these are 70-year global agreements, mandates used to manage the keepership programs. The last 70-year agreement made with the royals was in Bretton Woods Conference in 1944. Interesting. This agreement included the agreement on the release of funds into the system and the major global development programs to uplift the developing countries into a better state of being. This agreement ended 70 years on during 2014 with a temporary extension taking place, having the last funds made available as of the middle of October 2015, after which all global accounts were returned back to the royals. As of the beginning of January 2016, no new agreements have been made and no new releases have been effected. A new agreement is currently being put forward called the Global Peace Treaty, details of which are being finalized before being presented to the global community. What are keepership's violations? During the latter part of the Bretton Woods Agreement years, and ever since its ending, there have been a worrying trend of violations and offenses that have taken place against the global assets and the keepership system as a whole. But before going into these violations, let's look into the different types of offenses the royals are noticing, which are of concern to them. Now, let's go up here and take a look at these three, right? Type 1 offenses are those who directly and aggressively come against the royals and or assets. The remedy is complete removal of the aggressors and the forfeiting of their keepership, as well as the remove of all others that have provided material and logistic support. This looks to me like a hit job. I mean, you screw with these people, the cartel's got nothing on them. They'll take you out and they don't even need to be visible to do it. Type 2 offense are those that have mishandled royal assets, like exposing the assets without explicit authorization, getting your hand caught in the cookie jar. The remedy is the forfeiting of their keepership, as well as all others that are aided and abetted in these crimes. Now you know where the International Court of Justice comes in. Type 3 offenses are those that have neglected their keepership role, like neglecting the defense of the assets and or not providing enough logistical support for their upkeep. The remedy is the forfeiting of their keepership and restoring the damage caused. So not only are you going to lose your gig, not only are you going to seize your assets, your pension, but they're going to come back and they're going to make you pay for the damage you caused. Interesting. It is clear from the above that the royals regard the upkeep of keepership as an important part of the global system, with serious violations, any violations committed by the keepers. Okay. There are currently gathering of forces attacking ancient royal assets in both Syria and Iraq, as well as others waiting in the wings in readiness to join in the attacks. The royals view these attacks and these gatherings as directly coming against the royal assets and therefore are type 1 offenses in violation of keepership. All parties are hereby warned and to cease are to cease and desist and are given now imminent declaration of loss of keepership. All parties are to return back from whence they came from and to stop the attacks immediately. All countries, intelligence agencies, military, family, and other organizations who are involved in these violations are to stop immediately and go back. A declaration of loss of keepership, including enforcement action, will immediately follow if even 1 foot is placed onto any of these 2 countries by the participating parties. Furthermore, all countries that harbor or support such groups or are not in control of their internal keeps, that's us, we're keeps, to stop these groups from freely operating within their regions. Will have committed type 3 offenses and violations of keepership. Similar warnings and actions are to be acted upon. No further warning will be given. Isn't it odd that, at the beginning of the summer, all the hot and heavy action was not only in North Korea and Iran, but in Syria? Not anymore. Something happened. All right. Furthermore, there are royal assets being exposed for either sale, theft, or placed as guarantees in the financial system. None of these sales or guarantees are authorized by the royals or have the blessings of the royals. If in doubt, then please contact myself or relevant authorities to validate these transactions. Man, it almost gives you this impression that there's this whole freaking system that none of us are aware of, have no idea about, only elect few. And I don't mean the elect like we elect. I mean the elect few. Frankly, it pisses me off. All right, this includes but not limited to the BRICS Bank. Apparently, they were doing something that the royals didn't like, which they're saying, which has illegally used the guarantees of royal assets without explicit authorization. All parties are hereby warned and are to cease and desist and are given now imminent declaration of loss of keepership. All parties are to return back all the assets, and you do not get to cross go, no $200, and the guarantees, and to stop the violations immediately. Interesting. All countries, intelligence agencies, military families, they keep on putting those families in there, and other organizations who are involved in these violations are to stop immediately and restore the assets. A declaration of loss of keepership, including enforcement actions, will immediately follow if further violations have taken place by the offending parties. They ain't going to tell you again. So, this is a lot of legalese. I'm telling you, there is legalese all over this thing. It goes on to say that furthermore, the current authentic and tangible reports of planet Earth shortly to go through an extended period of severe space weather events affecting the lives and livelihood of everyone on the planet, as well as severe disruptions to the normal way of life. The setup of contingencies for the general population and contingencies for all of the royal assets are hereby expected to take place by all keepers. All keepers are to report back to the royals their preparation plans for overcoming of such events. The lack of reporting or contingency or the disruption to the smooth running of the services under their keepership will be regarded as type 3 offenses and violations of keepership. A declaration of loss of keepership, including enforcement actions, will immediately follow if the violations are found to have taken place, and they ain't going to warn you again. Now, isn't this weird? So this is saying that something's going to happen out in space. It's going to affect our weather, going to affect our way of life. All countries are to be having contingency plans. And folks, I've been reading these for years. Listen, August 23rd, 2 days after the eclipse, the United States did a joint drill with FEMA, DHS, and the military called Operation Burnt Sky. What was that exercise? That exercise was specifically then to begin to put in contingency plans in the event of an event that blackened our skies. Is this getting weird? Now, I told you that I thought that this document was a prank. But the more I reread it, the more I'm going, maybe they operate right out in front of us. We just don't know it. It goes on to say that furthermore, there are reports that the royal assets under the keep of the Vatican is reportedly under threat of attack by other groups as way of settling internal scores. Now, this is validated. This has been documented. There has been a war within the Vatican. I've heard ever since Pope John Paul II died. The royals view these potential attacks as disturbing. ISIS has said they're coming after the Vatican. I don't think that ISIS is going to go anywhere. These attacks will be regarded as directly coming against royal assets and therefore are type 1 offenses. In other words, they're going to whack you, and violation of keepership, and you lose your gig. All parties are hereby warned and are to cease and desist and are given new imminent declaration of loss of keepership. All parties are to cancel their plans of attack immediately and to start negotiating to resolve the issues between themselves. The use of prohibitive weapons will not be tolerated. The royals are not interested in being absorbed in mediating such issues between keepers. All countries, intelligence agencies, military families, and other organizations who are involved in these violations are to stop it, cut it out, man, cut the crap right now. A declaration of loss of keepership is on your ass, including enforcement actions. They're coming after you, Jack, and will immediately follow even if one royal asset is negatively affected by the participating parties. No further warning will be given. I was just going to say, where do I go to file a complaint, lodge a complaint? Because I've been negatively affected, and I want some retribution here. So now this gets even. So look at what they're saying. We got banks and countries operating illegally. We have them violating their agreements, their covenants of watching over us. They know about a space weather event. And now they're saying, all of you that think you're going to attack the Vatican, get your ass back home, or we're going to put a hurting on you. Strange. All right, let's go number 5. Furthermore, there are occasions when reports circulate of some keepers preparing the use of weapons of mass destruction in their conflicts to be in control of the situation. Holy crap. I mean, I feel like I'm reading the freaking playbook, right? Of a sports team. I'm getting the inside intel. The use of WMDs on their own regions or against the keeperships of others are by necessity type 1 offenses in violation of keepership. All parties are hereby warned, are to cease and desist, and are given imminent declaration of loss of keepership. All parties are to cancel their plans of WMD attack immediately and to start negotiating to resolve the issues between themselves. All countries, intelligence agencies, militaries, families, and other organizations who are involved in these violations are to stop immediately. A declaration of loss of keepership, including enforcement actions, is now being served on you. This is really odd. So let's just review this year alone. We had reports of chemical weapons used. Now they're not. We got a dude over there, little Kim, fat boy, who he's going to get whacked. I'm just going to tell you, he's going to get whacked. There either a report is going to come that he died of a mysterious illness, or you're going to find out that he ain't there no more. Because apparently the true powers to be are saying, cut the crap out. Stop it. So what are the next steps? Well, the warnings are come out. They want everyone to heed these. That means all the keepers. And failure to do so, if the violations are found to have taken place, means that they're going to take remedial enforcement action against you, individual keeper, and all those who are supporting them. I mean, to me, this is kind of like a letter from the Godfather. And I don't like what I see. That's what I think this is. They're saying they're coming after it. And if something happens and you're the cause of it, Jack, it's about to get serious. So they said that this serves as legal notice to all the keepers that the royal families have directed that all asset settlements, now get this, shall be processed and sanctioned by the Royal Imperial Sovereign International Court of Justice. The Royal Imperial International Criminal Court. I don't know if there is such a thing as the Royal Imperial, but we do know there's an International Criminal Court. We also know there's an International Court of Justice, and they're saying these assets have to be returned. And look at this, back also to the Royal Sovereign Government of the United States of North America, the Republic of North America. Wow, that is really weird. It goes on, tells them that they're instructed to how they're supposed to start processing all these assets to return them. If they don't, then they have the courts that will come out and kind of basically take care of you. And of course, it's signed by this. Now, this flag is very interesting. The United States of North America, 48. Hawaii and Alaska is not part of North America. They are part of the United States, but not of North America. And then, of course, they got the UN seal. This one here is really a bizarre. Check that one out. All right, so I went through all of that to do this. Let me get rid of this. So let's look at this one. Spiritual Royal Decree. Well, I don't know who this Honorable Ernst Rothschild is, but you want to take a look at this one? Let's take a look. I don't know. You know, who knows? A lot of weird stuff, though. There is no doubt about that. Absolutely no doubt about it. Some strange stuff indeed. And I'll leave the link, and you guys can certainly go out here and check this out for yourself. So what do you think? I told you it was weird stuff. Fake? Typology? Just someone pulling a good prank, having a good laugh at all the conspiracy at their expense? Who knows? I don't know, but I do know this. Sometimes you find truth in the most bizarre places, don't you? Now, I do know this, and I'll just recap this very quickly. Lots of documents that talk about ancient bloodlines, that they are long-lived species. There's talk as well that there is even a race of people that live in the earth. You know, the Admiral Byrd story about when he went to the South Pole, seeing a tropical forest and meeting an ancient person who called himself the Master. And the Master said that they were collecting at that time, and it would take them some time to begin to collect all of the biological specimens, that so when, and he warned Admiral Byrd that there was an event coming that could not be stopped, that they would have the seeds to repopulate the earth again. I mean, you've got religions predicting Armageddon, you've got end of the world type of nonsense, and throughout mankind's history, every generation has their ones that will tell you that it's the end of the world. All the signs are lined up correctly. and you get fixated on it, and that's all you see. And then that's what they want you to do. Because instead of you really taking care of the most important thing, which is you, your development, your ascension, you don't want to come back. And I think so many, regrettably, when they pass through the living portal that we call death, they're going to get stamped reject on their head and sent back through. Because by evidence of the world's condition today, humanity has not learned. We still do the same stupid things over and over again. We are an insane species. But there's some of us who have finally said, I've had enough of it. I'm not going to take it anymore. I'm not going to take your religion. I'm not going to take your politics. I'm not going to take your ideologies. I'm not going to take how you tell me I'm supposed to be. I am going to seek this out for myself, because you know what? Indeed, the meaning of life is simply this. It's you. You. It's all about you. Are you going to make it? Are you going to mature? Are you going to advance beyond that of the simple emotions and reactions to the body? Are you going to discipline the mind? Are you going to discipline the soul? Are you going to learn the knowledge? Or are you going to die in your self-deluded illusion? That what you got to do is go for life. You got to get your education. Then you're going to find someone. You get a family, you get a house, you get a job, and then you die. You pay taxes all your life. They get you sick, and then you pay for the medicine, and they suck you dry. And on your deathbed, you will look and you will reflect, and you're going to go, I wasted all this? Folks, we are in a time of where I don't know if there's been another time that this version of us remember. I think we've been here before. But as the prophet Daniel, who was indeed a very powerful magician and a seer, he saw, along with other seers, that there was going to come a time when knowledge would flood humanity. And we are definitely in that time. Knowledge is definitely flooding our consciousness. And never before have I seen where people are waking up both to their own spiritualness, realizing that the religions that are out there are not working. And I'll just be blunt. Either the gods have quit listening, or they never existed to begin with. Maybe it's truly our collective of our consciousness that's done this. Have you thought about that? The evidence would be, unless you can prove me differently, that mankind has created everything that is out there. Now, we have been used by those in power, enslaved, indentured servant, however you want to title it, this is what it is. And the thing that scares them the most is when people like myself, laymen and women, who come together and say, no, the system that has been in place, broken, not going to work. And the same way that we approach problems, not going to work anymore. This deception, when people go to the negotiating table, that they wear false masks, no. Listen, you know why they don't want us to ascend to a place where we can use telepathy? You can't lie. Think about that. So if you are a liar by birth, by nature, by species, a deceiver, we would spot you. We'd brand you. And if you're in power and been in power for a long, long time, well, then we become the biggest threat to that power base. And that's why I tell you, stop the hating. Stop getting enraptured into either religion, politics, even social matters. I mean, so often the work that's done socially is to benefit only a few, but under the guise that they say they'll help many. You know? And that's how it is. Those in power want you to become so divided. Have us divide. I tell people all the time, don't hate the guy in the office. They hated the last guy that was in the office. Stop it. You're better than that. You are. Quit letting them take advantage of you. Start looking within. Start seeking out that knowledge and rise yourself up. Because what they try to frame as a happy life is an illusion. There is no happy life. You can have all the money there is and all the luxuries there would. You would probably commit suicide because you're not disciplined. You're not. That's why most people live in poverty. They don't know. They don't know how not to live in poverty. The same way in broken relationships. If you're going from one relationship to the next, I can assure you it's not the other's faults, it's yours. If you have turmoil at home all the time, where your spouse are arguing and fighting and the kids are at battle at each other, the only ones to blame are yourselves. You get this false idea that because you have an understanding of technology and you think now that you've achieved such heights of awareness, but what we don't understand, that technology is stealing our souls. We don't really need it. That's the illusion. You go into debt for a mortgage. It's a morgue. You're going to get buried in it. So think about the words. And it doesn't take a lot of us to begin to change things. It really doesn't. And the first part is really just to do an inventory of self. Hey, good music, isn't it? That's my ringtone. So, all right, I'm going to end this. It's been an interesting discussion. I hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know your comments. And let's see, I think if we could start taking the list, the one thing I would recommend, and I agree with Jeff Doherty on this, is start a ritual and write it down. And don't do this in such a point of approaching this in, let's say, a religious state of mind. Approach this with a soul state of mind. The things that we use in our lives, the belief systems that enwrap and make our core, many times are the very things that we will use as an excuse to not progress, to not ascend, to not begin to look into other areas, and not to question. You should question everything, and take nothing at face value. People say, well, Wayne, that's pretty cynical. No, that's wisdom. I'm not denying that what may be said is truth, but I am a sentient, sovereign, intelligent, conscious being. And when you get at a certain age in your life, if you're fortunate enough to get old, regrettably, many of my hearing my voice will never see that. But as you get older, the great thing, I've said this before, you get this thing called wisdom and you can look back. And it's very easy for you to spot where the broken links are at. And then you begin to realize that there's a whole knowledge, a whole system out there you had no idea about. So that's the great thing, is that then you can pass on what you've learned, add that to the human collective consciousness, and hopefully one day our species will emerge from this cocoon and enter in and take our rightful positions among the gods. That's what we were created for. All right, folks, be good to one another, and we will talk real soon. All right, bye-bye.